Our next guest believes Wall Street is on the cusp of a Santa rally. Let's bring in Fast Money friend Tom Lee. Tom is the managing partner of Fundstrat and a CNBC contributor. Tom, always great to see you.
Yeah, great to see you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you. I'll ask you the same question. What are the best trades in your view to year end?
I think interest rates are going to be one of the key pivots, but from an equity perspective, we're entering a seasonally strong period. Powell's renominated. There's a lot of cash on the sidelines. I know there's been a lot of volatility lately that's put a lot of money on the sidelines, and there's been some tax loss selling. So I think we're going to finish quite strongly, but I see this led by not only just cyclicals, but also the FANG complex. So it's almost a FANG plus epicenter rally.
And you're still sticking by your 4,800 to year end, so there's 100 S&P points from where we are right now. Is that right?
Yes, I think probably more correctly, I think we're going to surpass 4,800 into year end. And, part of it is going to be to the extent that some of the things that have scared people, like the European lockdowns, those aren't going to be for 6 weeks. So I think as soon as those lift, we're going to go back into a much stronger risk on environment. So, it could be, it could be a 4,900 number, but I would say 4,800 is probably the base case into year end.
Hey, Tom, it's Tim. Talk about energy and talk about the positioning of institutions and your clients on this trade. Are they going to ever be investors again? And Carter comes on and talks all about how actually it's been a bit of a head fake on energy. We talk a lot about the oil price, but who's really investing here?
I'd say that investors in 2021, institutional, kind of looked at energy but from a distance, because they thought, okay, this is a small group and it's made a big move, and they figured oil wasn't really going to go anywhere. But as you know, oil's actually now getting to be a very tight market, and I think the White House fired its last bullet in terms of releasing the SPR. So I think oil now has a runway to actually move, towards 100. And as investors think about 2022, I think at the top of the list is exactly what you guys described, that it's a resource energy equity trade because there's structural shortage of oil. It's going to take years for production to fix, but the demand side is going to really rebound, especially as we get through this last of the COVID, and now we get the antiviral pills. I think the COVID situation looks so much better next year. Investors really do want to have more exposure. So we're seeing incremental interest, and you're seeing it in the relative performance.
Hey, Tom, when you look at this time of year, everyone always starts to throw out those biggest surprise trades of the following year. Where do you see rates, and how does that mess up your prognosticating of the year, whether it's energy, whether it's the banks? Everyone expects rates to explode above 2%. But what happens if it doesn't? What happens if they don't? What happens if we see a 10-year that's 1.2, 1.3 for the majority of the year?
That's a key battleground, actually, because as you know, at the moment, the bond market is looking for Fed liftoff far more aggressively than the street is, and obviously more aggressive than the Fed. So the big pivot next year is, what if inflation turns out to be a head fake and we actually start to see stable to falling inflation on a lot of goods? That would be a big shock, because you would see, as exactly described, a huge adjustment across the entire curve of yields. But I think it ends up being that yields are lower, and it really elevates equity risk premium, which means the market could go into another gear.
Tom, I want to ask you about Bitcoin, because you've got a big call. You think $100,000 is where it goes in the final weeks of the year. I mean, is Thanksgiving going to be a catalyst? Is this going to be one of these Thanksgivings where people are around the table and they're talking about Ethereum and Bitcoin and NFTs and so on, and that's what helps Bitcoin go higher?
Melissa, that's what happens, around Thanksgiving, is people talk about things that have really either been transforming or life-changing. Crypto is one of those things, because as you know, like even something like 1 in 5 home down payments is coming from crypto profits. I mean, it's some staggering number for first-time home buyers.
Jeez.
So I think it's like 2017. People come home for Thanksgiving, they talk about crypto. There's only 200 million real wallets, like users of crypto worldwide, out of 7 billion people. So it's still the earliest stages. So I think both institutional and individuals are going to talk a lot about crypto, and I think they're going to conclude 2022 is a great year, and that's what I think really strengthens Bitcoin into year end.